very, very controversial. But all of these mail-in ballots had to be inspected by both sides, of course, right? I mean, otherwise, we know that politicians cheat. You give them a chance to cheat, you can't put them on the honor code, certainly not in these big Democratic districts. All of a sudden, is it possible on election morning when they were going to get opened in 10 different places, the Democratic leader woke up and said, I got an idea. Let's put all the Republicans in corrals and not allow them to see any of the votes. You think the leader in Philadelphia woke up with that idea? The leader in Pittsburgh woke up with that idea. The leader in Detroit woke up with that idea. The leader in Flint, Michigan woke up with that idea, all independently. The leader in Milwaukee, Wisconsin woke up with that idea. Oh my goodness, I guess even the leader way out west, the leader in Las Vegas, Nevada woke up with that idea. The leader in Reno, Nevada woke up with that idea. The Democratic leader in Phoenix, Arizona woke up with precisely the same idea as the Democratic leader in crooked Democratic Philadelphia. And like nobody else did? Or is it possible that they picked the swing states, they picked the crooked Democratic machines that exist in those states, because a lot of Democrats probably would have told you to go to hell if you asked them to do this, because one of the key affidavits comes from a Democrat who worked in Detroit, a woman who worked her lifetime with elections, a woman who's an American patriot, not a Democrat or Republican. Her affidavit supports the entire thing. Weeks before, she says, they were training on how to fix the vote. Weeks before, they were fixing the early vote that came in. Weeks before, she was told when a vote comes in, don't check it, just put it right in. Don't check it, just put it right in. And on the day of the election, she saw Democratic workers of the city walk into the polling places with people and show people how to vote. By the time she got to the day after the election, she was totally disgusted. And she testifies to everything I just told you about. Not a Republican poll watcher, not a Republican observer, not a Republican at all. A citizen of Detroit who is willing to come forward and is willing to swear that the process in Detroit was a sham. It was a complete horror show. It was vote for Biden. When they saw Trump vote, they made a face, and she says sometimes just destroyed it. Before Joe Biden starts, redecorating the Oval Office, I just have to tell him, it ain't over yet. There's a path to victory. It's not certain, but it's logical, possible, given the overwhelming evidence in Pennsylvania and Michigan of massive fraud, well beyond the numbers of Biden's rather small victory. And then the evidence that suspiciously all these states, Trump was ahead the night before and then all of a sudden behind. And then even more suspiciously, what I pointed out, the same exact process in 10 different places, but only in those 10 Democratic strongholds where corruption is there and they've stolen votes before. So when you look at those states and you look at the legal challenges that exist already as a matter of record and with affidavits, which is evidence, there is evidence of fraud. When they tell you there is no hard evidence of fraud, they are lying. Affidavits are evidence of fraud. Affidavits, again I say, are evidence of fraud. They are lying to you as they have been for 4 years. The American news media is now a propaganda outlet of the Democrat Party. This is evidence of fraud. Maybe true, maybe not true. Has to be tested in court. But this is called evidence. And we have to get around them, around the iron curtain of silence to tell you, the American people, the truth. So let me show you a reasonable path to victory for Donald J. Trump and Vice President Pence. So North Carolina has been called It may never be called. He's won North Carolina. It's all the votes have been cast, and he's ahead by a much bigger margin than states that have been called for Biden. So I think we can safely give him North Carolina. So that moves him to 229 to Biden's 306 electoral votes. Now let me go in the order in which it's the most egregious. Pennsylvania was an exercise in fraud that's going to be legendary and historic when we're finished. The entire Philadelphia vote count area was turned into an armed camp with corrals. Republicans were put in corrals as if, we were counting votes in Soviet Russia, China, or Nazi Germany. And then Pittsburgh, not as bad. I mean, the reality is that Pittsburgh amateurs on voter fraud. In Pennsylvania, it's a profession. So Pennsylvania, about 2-1, total 600,000 votes, unlawful. That flips Pennsylvania. You can't possibly certify it. It's completely illegal and unlawful, plus a number of individual unlawful acts. So that's 20 electoral votes. That's a lot of electoral votes that take away from Biden and go to Trump. So now we're starting to get close. 249 for Trump, 286 for Biden. And all we did was give Trump North Carolina, which he has, and say that a state in which there are over 600,000 unlawful votes are going to flip. When we get to Michigan, the fraud, honestly, is broader in Michigan. Michigan's the place where the 100,000 ballots were brought in the middle of the night, virtually all for Biden, that look like the ballots I showed you. And only Biden's name checked off. Biden. So we flip Michigan. Oh my goodness. We flip Michigan. Trump is only 4 votes away from being reelected. Gee, what's the margin in Wisconsin? In the thousands? You know how much fraud there was in Wisconsin? In Milwaukee, the same thing was happening as was happening in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in Detroit. This sort of pandemic of putting Republicans in corrals that independently occurred to each one of these Democrats that morning. Wisconsin could be easy to flip. Numbers are smaller, evidence just as solid. That puts him over the top. Over the top. Now, if he doesn't flip Wisconsin, let's say he doesn't flip Wisconsin, then we can be pretty certain we're going to flip Nevada. I mean, it is Nevada, and the evidence there is not only overwhelming, but already part of a criminal investigation and part of an independent lawsuit, like there is in Pennsylvania. Or if it isn't Nevada, it could be Arizona, where the number is also low, and the same thing happened. Republicans, I guess they got the horse corrals and put the Republican in the horse corrals there. So that gets you over the top also with Arizona. Should he get, and that would get him to 276. And should he get all of them, Wisconsin, which is very close right now, Nevada, which is very close, Arizona, he gets 292 electoral votes. This is not over. This is in the courts. We are well within the time frame that was given to Al Gore without people being accused of all sorts of things and being threatened with losing their jobs, losing their reputation, losing their families, and not being allowed in polite society. This is what our liberal community has come to. It's come to a bunch of bullies who believe they have the truth, and any method can be used. Voter fraud, framing a president, defaming a human being, destroying General Flynn's life, destroying Carter Page's life, destroying the president as much as possible and his family. All of that is necessary because they can bring us to wonderful socialism. Well, in any event, We're past that now. We're at the counting process. We're in the courts of the United States, the greatest courts in the world. And I predict that we have a voter fraud theft of the century. Never happened before like this in America, at least not modern America. There's a concerted effort in those states to use these mail ballots to make up the difference, knowing that Trump was going to win. And the reason it took so long is Trump won by more than they thought. They never thought they'd have to make up 700,000 or 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And that's why it got so sloppy. On election night, the Democrats panicked, and that's what led them into making mistakes like this, where the votes were all over the streets. And the votes are brought in at 4 a.m. And just Biden, quick, it had to be done quick. You couldn't fill out the rest of the ballot. You didn't have the time. I mean, if we woke up in the morning and Trump was still ahead by 500,000 votes, it would have been kind of really unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So don't listen to the phony, fake media. Listen to the alternative media. Go around it. Use your common sense. Your common sense is going to lead you to a just result here. And finally, whatever the result here, don't let them cut it off early. We have to learn what happened so it doesn't happen again. This is America. Our right to vote is the core of our rights and our democracy. And what the Democrats did to our right to vote is disgraceful, and they should pay for it. I believe it'll overturn the election, but if it doesn't, it certainly should lead to many, many criminal prosecutions. Thank you. And we'll be back with you in a very short period of time, because this is going to be a busy period, and we may do some specials to get these facts out to you because they're being hidden from you. Thank you very much.